You mentioned that in our previous talk, the struggles that you had to go through, and then financially as well, but also personally. And did you reflect on this period when you wrote for this album, for Sleep No More?
Yes, I mean the first song on this album that I wrote was called When We Were Lovers,
Okay.
and I actually started writing that towards the end of Written in Scars, okay. And it almost ended up on Written in Scars, but I didn't want it to because it was a different thought process that it was leading me to. I was going back into the personal, going back into really reflecting on relationships and love and life. And work and all that really kind of had nothing to do with it. So I think, like I said, it's always taken from personal experiences, and these things overlap now. Responsibility and passion are such different routes. You know, you either go responsibility or you either go with passion. But I've ended up in a situation where I'm trying to do both. I would like to have both. I would like to be a responsible person, which is not easy. But I'd also still like to follow my passion and do that, which is not easy. So it's about trying to balance the two things.
What have you found so far then? Because last year has been a good year for you. What have you found so far in terms of that balance?
That it's very hard, that it's hard work, but it is doable.
Right.
And that's something that excites me. Hard work doesn't scare me as long as you know. Hard work is scary when you don't see an end. When you don't really know if it's going to actually give you, and I've been there as well with you, especially with music, where you work, and you just don't know what it's going to give you back. Once you start seeing the horizon and land, it's a bit like being lost out at sea. And once you start seeing that there is actually something to get to, then it becomes exciting. And I think when it comes to the argument of trying to follow my passion, but also achieve my responsibilities, now I know that it is possible. I've just got to figure out how to do it. It's up to me to figure it out.
Sure. And well, you say you delved more into the personal again. Was it a difficult thing to do to look at, especially at your own relation with your wife and those kind of things?
No, it was really pleasant.
Okay.
It was really nice. It was really enjoyable to make this album. It wasn't. Even the dark side of it, it was really nice to confront it, and it was nice to. I felt strong enough to deal with it, which I've never felt making previous records. There's always been a sense of desperation or weakness, usually during the process. Whereas this one, I felt like, you know, come on, show me what you've got, even to the bad guys, and just sort of seeing how deep I could go.
And the reason for it, well, let me ask it different. What is the reason that you felt so comfortable? So,
I think that level of content and happiness and feeling at ease with everything around me, with the people around me. I think family gives you that strength, gives you that confidence to face your demons and not run away from them. And in the past, I might have always, not necessarily run away from them, but maybe hidden.
Right.
Whereas now, I'm very happy to take them on.
And when when the songs kind of started to take shape, did you show them to your wife and to the people around you to kind of?
Yeah, my kids listen to it a lot. My daughter, she's 5, and she's my editor.
Okay.
She sort of goes, "Ooh, no, I don't like this one, Papa." Or then she go, "Oh, I'll put that one. I'll put number 4 on. Put number 3 on." I check a lot of stuff when we're writing, when I'm making an album. Usually, my office becomes my car.
Okay.
I like to make albums how I'd like them to be heard, and I always think the car is the best place to hear an album. So that's where I check everything. So yeah, I can check my reaction from the kids.
Very quickly, what is the last album you've listened to in the car?
The last album I listened to was actually just the other day. It's a girl from America called LP.
Okay.
And I think she's one of the best songwriters around right now. I'm a big fan. She's a New York Italian. And what I love is that she manages to write these incredible songs with a real touch of the great Italian songwriting from the 60s. And it's very romantic, and I love that. I'm a big fan.
And what was your wife's reaction to some of the songs? Because I assume she knows that certain songs were about her.
I mean, most songs I write are about her, and it's been that way since we've met. So I guess she's quite used to it.
Okay.
I don't know. You'd have to ask her.
Okay, fair enough. So, but it isn't like she says anything. No, or maybe
Like, what is this?
Why are you talking about this?
No, because I never sort of name and shame or make it.
Right.
I always try to make, but it's always pretty obvious that everything I write about is taken from my own experience.
Okay. And then in terms of the music, is it fair to say that in the last couple of albums you've kind of tried to expand the sound because you have a band around you and then...
Yeah, 100%. I mean, with this album in particular, I really wanted to see how far we could push things out musically. I was inspired a lot by Ennio Morricone's kind of the mood that he sets, not just the orchestration, but the mood, the sounds. And yeah, we wanted to keep the energy of previous albums, but I also wanted to bring back an element of romance. There was a sort of, I don't know, I didn't want to walk away from the romantic side of music, of how music can make you feel.
Mm-hmm. Well, how come?
I don't know. I think it was just a time in my life where I remembered how to appreciate the beautiful things again, not just the struggles. And this album is definitely me acknowledging the beautiful things in life that maybe I'd been ignoring for a while.
There's one track in particular, Start Living in the Moment. Do you remember the moment that you wrote about? Do you remember?
Well, I remember, so many people around me are always following expectations. And I think expectations are a terrible curse on somebody, because I don't have expectations, so usually it's very rarely that I'm disappointed. I'm usually pretty happy whatever happens because I didn't have an expectation. I know so many people that never really enjoy the moment and present because it never matches their expectations of what it should be. So this is kind of my way of saying, just enjoy it. Enjoy what's happening rather than thinking about what it could have been or what it should have been. This is what it is, and if you pay attention, actually, there's probably a lot more going on than you're noticing.
It might be early days, but have you already written new songs?
I've started, but to be fair, we've just kind of finished this album, just hit the road. But I've started thinking already about the next record. Because
I was thinking about what you said about expectations, and so do you have a vision of what the next album will be, or do you think about those kind of things? Or?
I have a vision of it. I don't have an expectation. I definitely have I've started thinking about where do we want to do it. I'd like to go somewhere and do it this time. I'd like to go something very classical and big, and I'd like to challenge the songwriting and see if we can, not go completely somewhere crazy. But I honestly still don't know. I know that I'm thinking about it, but I still don't know what it's going to be.
Okay. Finally then, I've heard that you wrote a song with a Dutch artist, Niels Geusebroek.
Yeah. I love Niels. Niels is an amazing guy. He's a good guy.
Do you remember that session? Do you remember how you kind of...
Yeah, we met at his studio
the
first time, and he had just had a little baby, a baby boy, I believe. And I was just pretty much a new dad as well. And we found ourselves sitting in a room sort of writing songs about how to do it, how to be a dad, what kind of father, what kind of man we want to be, what kind of father we want to be. And then we started this idea there, and then Niels came to London, and he called me, and he came actually it was my sister's apartment, and we sat in the kitchen and we finished the song, and it's actually a song that at one point he wasn't sure if he was going to use it or not, and I was thinking about putting it on my album, but then Niels went with it, and it's stunning. I'm very proud of it. And he's an amazing singer, he's an amazing writer, great singer, great musician. He's much more of a musician than I am. He knows how to construct things nicely, but yeah, it was great fun.
It's interesting what you mentioned because well, you mentioned earlier that you don't consider yourself a musician. Do you like this fact, or is this something you might?
No, it annoys me. I wish I was more of a
Okay.
musician. Yeah,
Okay.
I wish I was a better musician, but discipline is not a quality of mine. So you need to have quite a lot of discipline to be a great musician.
Okay, you
But I am music. I do consider myself musical.
Sure.
I love music. I love attempt. I can join in on anything when it comes to music, but I have no idea what I'm doing.
And one more thing about working with Niels is with writing sessions like those. What do you take away from each other?
Oh, a lot. I used to be really against writing sessions. I used to
Okay.
hate the idea of a writing session, but I was also very young and naive and stubborn and arrogant. Now I've realized it's like going to class, because even if somebody is not very good or not as good as you, or if somebody's much better, you'll still see something that you're like, oh, I never thought about that, or you'll hear something, or it's like anything. It's like cooking with somebody, you know. It's like cooking with a friend. It's fun. It can be really annoying. If you're quite precious and you're like, no, this is my recipe, then it's annoying. But if you're figuring a new recipe out and you do it together, it's good fun, because, you know, they might have a lot of bad ideas, but they'll have a lot of good ideas. You might have some bad ideas that you thought were good, and only when they say to you, that's not great, you're like, yeah, you're right, that isn't great. So I think it's really fun. I love it. It also depends on personality.
Sure.
You know? It's not just about the music. It's also about whether you get along as people, whether you actually want to sit in a room and have something to say.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, man.